My name's Sienna Thompson. I'm 28, and until recently, I honestly thought I understood loyalty, family, and love. Turns out, haha, nope. 4 weeks ago, my parents secretly sold my grandmother's antique piano, the one she'd promised would one day be mine, and blew all $95,000 on a shiny new Mercedes for my sister. They thought Gran was too sick in hospice to notice. They thought I was too polite to ever say anything. They were wrong, and the moment I told Grandma what they'd done, she didn't cry, didn't shout. She just picked up her phone, called one man, and spoke 7 words that changed every single thing my parents thought they owned. Before we get to that unbelievable day, and trust me, you'll want to hear what she said, take a quick breath. Grab a cup, or a coffee, or maybe a cheeky glass of wine, eh? This story's a ride. The whole mess began on a Tuesday afternoon, right after my final piano lesson of the day. I'd just finished helping little Noah play hot cross buns without turning it into hot cross chaos when my phone rang. Eleanor's had another heart attack. My dad's voice barked down the line. No hi, no how are you. Just straight to business. She's stable, but they're moving her to hospice. Family meeting in an hour. I still remember the smell of polish on the keys as I dropped the lid and ran out into the drizzle. By the time I reached the hospital, my parents and younger sister, Megan, were already in the waiting room, whispering like they were negotiating a merger instead of deciding who'd sit with a dying woman. Dad Richard stood with arms crossed, looking every bit the stoic patriarch he fancied himself. Mum Diane clutched her designer purse like a life raft, and Megan, younger by 4 years, and apparently the center of the known universe, was scrolling through her phone, nails clicking like crickets. Good. You're here, Dad said when he finally noticed me. We need to divide responsibilities. Not how are you, sweetheart. Not this must be hard. Just pure logistics. Someone needs to visit Mum daily, he went on. Your mother and I have the business, and Megan's busy with Daniel's family. Ah, yes, Daniel Harrison, also known as the boyfriend with the business card, son of Dad's most valuable business partner. So, Sienna, Dad continued, tone managerial, you'll handle visits. You're a teacher, your schedule's flexible. I wanted to scream that I taught 37 little humans every week, handled programs, recitals, drama club, the lot. But I knew better. Of course, I said quietly. I want to be with her anyway. Perfect, he clipped, already turning away. As I walked down the corridor, I heard Mum mutter so softly she thought I couldn't hear. At least she's useful for something. Ouch, but not unexpected. I'd been trained to absorb those little stings like mosquito bites. Annoying, constant, rarely fatal. That combination will forever remind me of her. Lavender for calm. Books for memory. She demanded both. They make everything smell like bleach in here, she'd said. If I'm going to die, I'll do it surrounded by things I love. That was so her, stubborn, elegant, funny, even in decline. Gran Eleanor Whitmore was 76, dying of congestive heart failure. But her mind was still sharp enough to slice through steel. Every day after work, I'd sit by her bed and we'd talk about music, about the students who couldn't yet play a proper G major, but felt rhythm in their bones. Then one evening, she looked at me and said quietly, Sienna, there's something I need you to know. Anything, Grandma. The Steinway, she said, meaning the piano. It's yours. Always has been. I swear. My heart stuttered. That piano grand from 1892, pure craftsmanship, was the heart of my childhood. Every scale, every song, every tear-stained teenage midnights on those ivory keys. You don't have to. I want to. Her grip trembled, but her voice didn't. You're the only one who understands what it means. Promise me you'll take care of it. I promise. She smiled then, eyes thoughtful. Some lessons cost money, sweetheart. Others cost pride. Some people will have to learn the difference the hard way. I didn't understand what she meant. Yet. 2 weeks later, She asked me to fetch some old performance photos from her house. Easy enough, right? Except when I walked into her living room, the piano was gone. All that remained was a rectangular indent in the carpet, like a chalk outline of something murdered. My throat seized. I called Mom immediately. "Where's Grandma's piano?" A pause, then her cool, practiced tone. "You don't need to worry about that, Sienna. Where is it? Your father dealt with it. Adult matters." Click, she hung up. I drove to my parents' house, heart hammering. Dad opened the door, scotch already in hand. "You sold it?" I demanded. He didn't even blink. 95 grand. "Good price. You what?" "She's dying," he said, shrugging. "Doesn't need a piano. We invested it wisely." From behind him, Megan jingled something metallic. "Car keys. You bought her a car? With Grandma's piano money?" "Mercedes," Dad said, as if that explained morality. "Appearance matters to the Harrisons." My mother appeared, face pinched. "You teach children, Sienna. You don't perform." Megan needed it for her future. I felt like the floor had quietly disappeared. "That piano was supposed to be mine," I said. "And what would you even do with it?" Mom scoffed. "Collect dust along with your paychecks?" And then she said it. "She's in hospice. You tell her and she gets upset, you'll be the reason she dies. Do you want that on your conscience?" Manipulation at its finest. But sometimes the thing that finally breaks you is the same thing that sets you free. I went home that night replaying Grandma's words. Truth can wound, but lies wound deeper. They just take longer. By 3 a.m., I'd made my choice. I was done being quiet. The next morning, sunlight streamed across her bed like liquid gold. She noticed the shadows under my eyes immediately. "You haven't slept," she murmured. "No." I gripped her hand. "Grandma, something's happened." "Then tell me," she said. So I did every painful detail. The sale, the Mercedes, the arrogance, the lie. When I finally stopped, she just exhaled, long and slow. "I suspected as much," she said. "I know my son." "You knew?" "Your father's pride has been eating him alive for decades." She reached for her phone. "It's time." She scrolled her contacts like a woman half her age, then pressed one name, Harold Jennings. "Harold, it's time," she said simply. "Sunday, Diane's birthday party, my house." "Understood," came the reply. She ended the call and met my stunned gaze. "Justice takes patience, love." Fortunately, I've had plenty. 2 days later, I sat in Harold's tiny law office surrounded by more mahogany than a Victorian novel. He was silver-haired, calm, with the sort of voice that makes you automatically tell the truth. "Your grandmother," he said, anticipated this. 5 years ago, to be precise. He slid a folder across his desk. "Do you know who legally owns the house your parents live in?" "They do," I said automatically. He smiled faintly. "They think they do, but they don't." Inside the folder, the deed, Eleanor Whitmore and only her. "She let them live there rent-free as a test," he explained. "She wanted to believe your father could value responsibility over entitlement. Sadly, he failed." That night, I rummaged through an old box of Grandma's keepsakes at my apartment. Beneath theater programs and pressed flowers sat an envelope addressed to me. "For Sienna, when you need to understand." Inside was a photocopy of a legal trust dated 5 years back, and a note in Grandma's handwriting. "The house was never theirs, sweetheart. It was borrowed." Some borrowers forget to return things. Sunday's party apparently was going to be an education. It was cold, painfully bright Sunday morning when I parked down the street from their house, Grandma's house. Balloons bobbed on the mailbox. Silver letters declared, "Happy 60th, Diane." Inside, 30 guests milled about, relatives, neighbors, Dad's business contacts, the Harrisons included. Megan, of course, floated around in a sparkly dress. Funny, no mention of the piano's old corner except for a sad potted plant shoved there like guilt disguised as decor. And there, quietly seated by the window, was Harold, briefcase beside him. He caught my eye and nodded once. Dad raised his glass. "Thank you all for joining us to celebrate my lovely wife." Applause. Laughter. Normal family stuff. Until he gestured dramatically toward the driveway. Now, a special surprise for our Megan. Everyone followed him outside, where that silver Mercedes gleamed under a ridiculously oversized red bow. "This gift," my father announced, "made possible by my mother's generosity. We sold her piano to invest in Megan's future." Gasps and polite clapping. My jaw hit the floor. One neighbor murmured, "Wasn't that piano promised to?" Megan spotted me. "Come on, Sienna, get in the picture. Don't be jealous. Maybe Grandma will leave you her sheet music." Laughter. Shallow. Cruel. And then behind me came the crisp click of a briefcase opening. Harold. He waited until silence trickled back through the room. "Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Harold Jennings, attorney for Mrs. Eleanor Whitmore." You could have heard an eyelash drop. Dad went pale. "My mother has an attorney?" "For 30 years, Harold said pleasantly. "You'd know if you'd ever asked." He produced a paper. "Let's start with property ownership, shall we? The house you're currently standing in legally belongs to Eleanor Whitmore. Always has. Never transferred." The whispers started immediately. "What?" Dad rasped. "So as of this morning," Harold continued, "Eleanor has exercised her right to restructure tenancy. Effective immediately, you'll be formal renters. Details forthcoming." Mum's face drained of color. "Renters?" "Correct." He turned another page. "Further, 5 years ago, Mrs. Whitmore established a private trust. Its assets," he adjusted his glasses, "include this property, her accounts, and items of sentimental value such as one 1892 Steinway grand piano, sold recently without authorization." His gaze found me. "The trust's sole beneficiary is Miss Sienna Rose Thompson." You could feel the air leave the room. Megan shrieked. Mom gasped. "Dado!" Dad just stared, jaw twitching. "She's manipulated her!" Dad shouted. Harold raised an eyebrow. "Sir, these decisions were made 5 years ago before your daughter even knew the trust existed. You might wish to be cautious. More than 30 witnesses heard your previous statements. Aunt Margaret came to stand beside me, chin lifted. Eleanor told me herself." Harold pressed on. "There are, of course, consequences for unauthorized sale of a trust asset. The $95,000 obtained must be returned within 30 days. "We don't have that!" Dad spluttered. "Then perhaps liquidate the Mercedes," Harold replied mildly. Megan burst into tears. "My car?" The crowd was half horrified, half thrilled, that uncomfortable mix of scandal and sympathy we Brits like to call a proper show. When the murmurs finally faded, Dad pointed at me. "You did this. You turned her against us." "No," I said firmly. Grandma turned her eyes on the truth. "There's a difference." I looked around at the stunned faces and realized I wasn't scared anymore. "For years I've been the quiet one," I said. "But silence protects the wrong people. Not today." Every word that followed poured out clean and strong. The visiting, the insults, the threats. By the time I finished, the room was silent except for Megan's sniffles. Harold gathered the papers. "Eleanor requests signatures acknowledging the new arrangement lease terms, repayment schedule." Dad signed like a man signing his own surrender. Mum's hand trembled so badly Harold had to steady the paper. By sunset, the guests had slunk home. The banner sagged half-detached, and the untouched cake looked absurd amidst the wreckage. My phone buzzed. Video call. Hospice, Grandma. Her smile appeared on screen, soft but tired. "My brave girl," she whispered. "How do you feel?" "Terrified and relieved, and sad," I confessed. "That's what courage feels like," she said. "Never neat, never easy." I didn't throw them out, I told her. Gave them time to repay, to rent properly. I expected nothing less. She smiled. "You're kind when others would be cruel. That's your strength, Sienna." And then, almost as if she knew time was thinning, she said, "Live well, play music, and be happy. That's how you thank me." Within a fortnight, news of the birthday party bombshell rippled through every social circle my parents valued. Business associates stopped answering calls. Mr. Harrison withdrew from all deals. By midweek, Megan had returned the Mercedes, only got 8 OK, which barely covered the trust repayment, and Daniel dumped her via text. My parents feel it's best we take space. Translation: You're radioactive, babe. I didn't gloat, not outwardly. Some quiet justice just hums inside you like low thunder. For weeks I kept teaching, kept visiting Grandma, and slowly the dust settled. 3 weeks later, the hospice called at dawn. "She's asking for you." When I arrived, the room was flooded with that pink morning glow she loved. She opened her eyes as I sat. "My Sienna," she whispered. "Come close." "I'm here. I'm sorry. For what? For not protecting you earlier?" I shook my head furiously. "You gave me everything that matters." She smiled faintly. "Then I did something right." Her hand squeezed mine once, soft as bird feathers, and didn't let go until the last breath left her body. Her service was simple, just as she wanted. Soft white flowers, gentle music, no pretentious eulogies. I played one of her favorites at the church piano. Guess which corner of the building creaked when I pressed the sustain pedal? The side near the old lavender bush, same scent that used to hover in her hospice room. My parents sat at the back, didn't approach me, didn't need to. Some goodbyes don't require words. 6 months later, I moved into Grandma's house. It felt eerie at first, like living inside her echo, but eventually, it became home. With the returned funds, I bought a Yamaha Grand. Polished ebony, rich tone. Different, yes, but when I played my first nocturne, it felt like Grandma was listening. Dad and Mum moved out after 2 months, citing painful memories. Translation: humiliation. They downsized to a small condo. We don't speak now, not out of hate, just quiet. Some bridges are better left as ruins. 8 months after the funeral, Megan rang. I nearly didn't answer. "Hi, it's me." Her voice sounded unsure for the first time in her life. "I'm not asking for money," she rushed. Just wanted to say something." "Go on," I said carefully. "I've been in therapy," she admitted. "Turns out being the favorite isn't a blessing. It's a trap." She gave a short laugh. "I thought you'd stolen my future. Now I see you just took responsibility for what Grandma already wanted." Silence stretched between us, awkward but real. "If you ever want to talk," I said finally, "I'll listen. But trust takes time." "I know," she whispered. We hung up, gentler than before. Maybe one day we'll find our rhythm again. Tonight, a year after it all began, I'm sitting at my grand piano, windows open to the spring air. The garden smells of lavender again. When I play, I see her l'elegant, wise, fearless smiling somewhere beyond the keys. I used to think her greatest gift was the music, the house, even the trust. But no, her greatest gift was teaching me to choose truth over silence. I don't have the original Steinway. I don't have the family I thought I wanted. But I have something infinitely better. Myself. Boundaries. Peace. Freedom grounded in truth. And that, more than anything, is the real inheritance she left me. If this story struck a chord, if you've ever had to stand tall against people who made you feel small, remember, speaking up isn't betrayal. It's self-respect. Click subscribe to Revenge Diary for more true stories of strength, karma, and unexpected redemption. And share this video with the friend, sister, or cousin who needs to be reminded that setting boundaries is never selfish. It's how you finally take your life back.